Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a wonderful suggestion that one of you made, and I'm so happy to do these things. The ideal repertoire list of Poulenc Concertos. Poulenc is one of those composers that people don't really think about in terms of large forms normally, because he didn't write symphonies and he didn't write, like lots of big chamber works, although he wrote lots of really fine chamber works. But, there are sonatas, there are things like that. But actually, he did write 5 magnificent concerti, and they're very, very different from each other. So I want to tell you about them and give you my ideal selection. Now, as with all of these ideal selections, this is not necessarily the best ever for each work. I don't think we need to go there. All of these pieces have been recorded multiple times, often very well. This is a list with no weaknesses. If you have it, you will have a wonderful selection of the Poulenc Concerti. These are all with different performers, and you can come up with your own list and supply it yourself if you choose. It's actually fun because, this one is particularly fun because the works are so different and because they're so unexpected in some ways in terms of the repertoire as a whole. They get recorded pretty frequently, but we don't really talk about them as serious works. Well, they are. They are wonderful works. Serious or not, really, who cares? Most of them are somewhat lighthearted because that was the kind of composer that Poulenc was. But they are magnificently crafted, incredibly tuneful, just tons of fun. So let's get started with the Concert Champêtre. Oh, this is a toughie, isn't it? Because it has, it's written for harpsichord and orchestra, and today with the lack of plial harpsichords, everybody's using like original instruments. It's so stupid. An original instrument for the Concert Champêtre was the plial concert harpsichord written or created for Wanda Landowska, which had the sustaining power of a Bosendorfer grand piano. It was a big instrument and it balanced out the orchestra. And if you're not going to have one of those, you can't fix it with miking. You can't make a tiny toned instrument sound loud. It sounds like a tiny toned instrument being artificially boosted. It's totally different sound quality. So anyway, there are some performances out there which do use an instrument that's suitable for the work. Now, there's also a version for piano. Sviatoslav Richter played it, actually. And there are a couple good versions for piano, but I'm sticking with the harpsichord original. And the greatest, this is one of those versions where I do think we have the greatest version, is this one. It's with Zuzana Ružičková, the amazing Czech harpsichordist, with the Czech Philharmonic, the amazing Czech Philharmonic, which is just phenomenal in French music. And the conductor is really kind of unbelievable. You wouldn't think he could do it, or he would do it, but he does. It's Kurt Sanderling. Yeah, Kurt Sanderling. This is a performance that does everything right. It has that sharp, dry Stravinsky bite to it. It has fabulous harpsichord playing. Ružičková was not able to get her hands for most of her career on a modern instrument. Thank God. a authentic little tiny instrument. She used this harpsichord she had from somewhere that had like different stops and things, and it was a good, loud, banging mother of an instrument. And the important thing about this performance is that they don't play it too quickly. They take their time to savor every harmonic piquancy and melodic, the melodic deliciousness of the whole thing. It's just a beautiful, beautiful performance, and it's very well recorded. Now, there are some other good ones. As I said, not the least, Amy Van de Weil's performance with, in the complete Poulenc edition from about this same period, 50s and early 60s, before the period instrument people started making the wrong harpsichords for this music. Anyway, this is just a phenomenal performance. It's also available on Supraphon in the 2-disc Ružičková compilation of like greatest hits. Is a disc of concertos, and this is in it, and it's just amazing, and you really need to hear it, or you have not heard the work. quite simply. So there's the Concert Champêtre. Next, the Organ Concerto. The Concerto for Organ, Strings, and Timpani. Now, this is a big single movement piece with Bach mixed with sort of fairground calliope music. It's so catchy. You know, it begins with this grinding Bach takeoff. What is it? It's his Fantasy and Fugue in G minor or something like that. It's like, yeah, you know, the harps, and then all of a sudden, and then it's got this sort of chase scene between the organ and the orchestra. It's amazing. And then you get da 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 da. That little phrase there is a very Poulencian turn of melody. It appears in like everything he wrote. It really does. It's all over the place. You hear it in the harpsichord concerto. Da 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 da. You know, it's there. You'll find it everywhere. But this performance features the Boston Symphony, Seiji Ozawa, Simon Preston on the organ, and most importantly, Vic Firth, timpanist, the greatest timpanist that ever lived, probably. An amazing, legendary figure in the world of tympanosity. He really is extraordinary, and it matters in this work. It's a soloistic kind of part. So, I mean, this is just great in every way it's possible to be great. Ozawa is a great Poulenc and French music conductor generally. You have the Boston Symphony, which is marvelous. You have Vic Firth. You have the acoustic of Symphony Hall Boston with a real concert hall organ, which is really important in this work because so often it's recorded in churches and cathedrals with these big swimmy acoustics with acres of reverberation, and that doesn't help the piece. It doesn't help the piece at all. There's another fine performance with Vic Firth and Charles Munch and Boston as well. So, you know, and it's quite different as an interpretation in terms of tempo and things like that. But this is just marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. It also comes with a pretty good Concert Champêtre with Trevor Pinnock, a live recording playing a fairly decent-sized harpsichord. So, I mean, these are all going to be very incestuous, these recordings. You're going to see stuff all over the place because, you know, the couplings are either going to be other Poulenc concertos or maybe something else entirely, other composers like organ and orchestra works or other things like that. So, yes, phenomenal. On DG, that's the organ concerto. Then we get the Aubade. Oh, the Aubade. What is an Aubade? An Aubade is sort of a morning thing, and this is a concerto chorégraphique. That is a ballet in the form of a concerto for piano and 18 wind instruments. I love this work. It's phenomenal. It's been recorded 1 billion times. It really has. The plot involves the goddess Diana, the huntress, with her Amazettes, and they're hunting, and I don't know what happens in it. It ends rather wistfully, actually. If you hear little bell things, that's, you know, Finster and Mildred playing with their little toy thing, which they dragged down from the attic in a previous version of this video, causing me to have to start all over again. Anyway, so here we have the Aubade. It's in one single movement, about 18 minutes long. It's quite Stravinsky-ian, actually, and it's delightful. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of music. Here we have, let's see, Eric Lesage piano. This is an RCA with the Orchestre Philharmonique de Liège, conducted by Stéphane Denève. And it's just beautiful. And of course, on this disc, you get the regular piano concerto and the concerto for 2 pianos with Frank Braley playing. It's wonderful. The whole disc is wonderful. If you get this, you can cover the Aubade plus the other 2 piano concertos, but we're doing an ideal list, so we're talking about other versions of the piano concerto and the double piano concerto. But they're here, and they're marvelous, so you can, you can stop there if you really feel like it. Now, as for the piano concerto, this is the least respected of all the Poulenc concerti because it's the most lighthearted, and it's considered to be completely insubstantial. It's not virtuosic for the soloist at all. It has no important formal innovations. It's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. It has the greatest tunes you've ever heard in your life. The opening, oh my God. Da da dum ba da 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 dum da 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 dum ba da 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 dum ba da do 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 do. It's so beautiful. And the slow movement always reminds me of like Casablanca. It's the love scene in the cafe along the Nile. Well, it's Casablanca, it's not along the Nile, but you know what I mean. It's along the river with the palm trees, on the patio there. It's going da 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 da. I mean, it's magical. It's magical. And the finale with Way Down Upon the Swanee River in the middle of it, it's a rondo à la française, and it ends quietly. It does everything wrong that a concerto should do, and it does it so wonderfully. It's just so wonderfully not what any major soloist would ever want to play, and it's a pity because, it's so beautiful. My God, it's wonderful. So this is the performance. It's in the complete Poulenc edition, but you can probably get it separately. It's with Gabriel Tacchino and Georges Prêtre and the Paris Conservatory Orchestra, and it's just marvelous. And it does something I keep talking about, which I always have to mention with these things. It doesn't take the thing too quickly. It just drives me crazy the way all of these like period instrumenty people now who play everything too fast anyway. I mean, that's part of the period instrument orthodoxy, that thou shalt not play anything at a reasonable tempo so that the audience can actually hear what you're doing. And here again, these things have to sing. It has to have sex appeal. It has to be, I don't mean to be sluggish about it, but let the melodies dictate the pace. Don't have some sort of weird idea that because it's neoclassical and now we play classical music to double the speed we used to play it, that this has to be double the speed it should be played at. Right? Okay, that's that. Next, the double piano concerto. This is possibly the most popular of all the Poulenc piano concerti because it's simply the most popular and greatest double piano concerto ever written after Mozart's. I mean, which it quotes Mozart, not the double piano concerto, but Mozart. The opening of the slow movement is pure Mozart, goes into sort of Paris cafe music. It's da 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 dum bum 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 ba da 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 dum. Then it repeats and it goes ya da dum ya da 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 dum. How Poulenc makes it work, where he's taking all these bits and pieces from different places and jamming them together in little 2-bar phrases, and they all flow into each other. It's miraculous. And this piece also has Balinese gamelan music, and it's another work. It's been recorded 1 million times now, the double piano concerto has, where people often play it too fast. I mean, the opening begins with the Balinese music, that wonderful sort of Far Eastern stuff, and then you get this part that sounds like Simon Legree tying the heroine up to the train tracks, da dum ba da 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 bum 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 boom 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 boom. Oh, it's just wonderful. But the problem is that often performances today take that opening in one tempo and then the main body of the movement in another tempo, and then you've got the bit with the castanets, da 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 dum ba da dum bum 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 ba da dum. It's not all supposed to go at a different speed. The thing with Poulenc is that his sense of form was dictated entirely by the shape of the melody and the different episodes that he binds together. And it's up to the performers to make a coherent whole out of it. You're not going to hear like sonata form here, folks. You've got just different tempo areas quite often, but don't sectionalize it more than it already is. And that's what happens today because, of course, most modern performers have no sense of form whatsoever. And that's just the way it goes. Isn't it fascinating? They all claim to be experts in early music, but they're clueless when it comes to how to put over a formal entity. And Poulenc's formal entities are unique to himself, not to anybody else. Anyway, here we have it. Leonard Bernstein with Gold and Fizdale, duo pianists. This is a marvelous performance with the New York Philharmonic on Sony, and everything on here is really cool. It comes with the Shostakovich concertos. The first concerto for trumpet and piano with Andrei Previn playing the piano and William Vacchiano trumpet, and then piano concerto number 2 with Bernstein playing the piano. And then you've got the Poulenc double concerto. It's a great disc, part of that royal edition with now King Charles's not terribly interesting watercolors on the front. I wonder if it'll become a collector's item now that he's king. I should save it, shouldn't I? Anyway, This is a great version of the double piano concerto, but you can find lots of them everywhere, including the one we just talked about, or the one with Poulenc himself, with Jacques Favier playing second piano or first piano, and Poulenc plays second. I don't know. There is no shortage of great performances of Poulenc piano concerti, but this, or Poulenc concerti generally, but this is the list, the ideal list with no weak spots whatsoever. So go get your Poulenc and have a great time. Keep on listening, friends, and take care.